Hello YouTube, Wes here checking in with a brand new episode of the Vinyl Survivor Show. As always, the Vinyl Survivor Show is all about my listening journey, and this is where I share my thoughts and feelings and a bit of knowledge I have about each of the albums presented, and let you know whether there's something I'm going to be keeping or whether there's something that just weren't for me. These are all albums pulled from my vast, ever-expanding inbox, and I do listen to my records. I buy a lot, but I do listen to them, and these are the ones I have listened to recently. So let's go ahead and get into it. First album we have here is the 7th studio album from The National. This is titled Sleep Well Beast from 2017. If you're not familiar with The National, they're kind of an indie rock, modern indie rock kind of group. Really good stuff. If you're into the indie rock genre, you probably like The National, and I do like them quite a bit. This lead singer has a very unique voice, a very deep, rich voice, and this is another really good album by The National. Nothing too far out there as far as pushing boundaries or anything. Just a good, solid album by The National, and I definitely have enjoyed listening to this one. This one does have some die-cut inner sleeves, kind of interesting. They're kind of identical there, and then a nice 12 by 12 booklet, monochrome kind of. Actually, this is a poster. I forgot it's a poster. So you got some lyrics there. And a nice large poster with the album title there and everything. I'll show you one of the LPs. This is a 2 LP set, and it is pressed on white vinyl. The 4AD record label. So The National, Sleep Well Beast, that one's staying in the collection. Definitely dig it. Definitely something that's in my wheelhouse, and I bought it new. So, all right, next up, also from 2017, we have the 3rd studio album from Fleet Foxes titled Crack Up. And Fleet Foxes I would put as kind of an indie folk group. Really good, another really good solid group if you're into indie rock, indie folk kind of stuff. Really, really enjoyable. They don't put out a lot of material, but what they put out is quality. This is no exception to that. And really nice. This one also has sort of a poster with some artwork and some liner notes, and then on the inside you get lyrics on it, and it's on black vinyl. So Fleet Foxes Crack Up, that's another great one for me, and that one's going to be staying in the collection as well. Next up, I have a compilation from 1979, and this is the Staple Singers with Chronicle, their greatest Stax hits. So just some great Staple Singer songs, a really nice compilation here. I'm not too much into this kind of music, but I do enjoy having it, and I did really enjoy listening to this album, so it was nice to have this compilation, and I think this is going to be a keeper for me for at least a while now, just so I can pull it out. And as I said, it's a really good compilation. If you're not super into this stuff, that's a good sort of all-around kind of comp to have. Comps aren't always the best thing, but in this case, it's what works for me. I wouldn't be collecting a lot of Staple Singers albums. It's a nice Stax label on that. Staple Singers Chronicle, 3rd one, and that one's also going to be staying in my collection. All right, next up we have a bit of, I don't know how to put this as far as what it is. It's called a super session. It's a bunch of artists that normally don't play together, and they came together to make this one album. This is music from Free Creek, 1969. This has Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Keith Emerson, with Buzz Fightin', Mitch Mitchell, and Linda Ronstadt as well on here. So a lot of different artists on here, kind of a mashup of all those different types of artists. They come together and they make some songs. So Overall, this was pretty good. It was an enjoyable listen, but not anything I think I would want to hear again. It's just it's an interesting piece of history. And if you like those artists, or at least a couple of those artists, you're probably going to like this as well. But it's not necessarily something you want to own or want to have. This is on the Charisma label, 2 LP set, and again, just kind of a jammy, folk rock, blues rock, little of everything there. So yeah, music from Free Creek. Unfortunately, not a keeper. All right, next up we got one here on the Folkways label, classic folk label. This is Gene Ritchie with Marching Along the Green Grass and Other American Children's Songs. So this is just some very traditional folksy children's kind of songs on here. Train a Comin' on here, Shady Grove, March Along the Green Grass. Let's see, All You Jolly Huntsmen, the Bluebird Song. A lot of these songs I'm not real familiar with. I didn't grow up with them. This is from 1968, and yeah, just some fun. Not fun, but well, yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's children's music, so it's very simple and youthful, but very traditional and kind of nostalgic, I guess, a bit. Even though, as I said, I didn't really grow up with many of those songs. It's sort of in that kids' music kind of wheelhouse. Being that this is a Folkways record, it does come with a nice booklet with the printed lyrics and any kind of history or any kind of necessary things to know about the music and the recording and the instruments. So those are always nice to have and follow along as you're listening. And then the album itself, that classic silver and blue Folkways label. So yeah, the Gene Ritchie, enjoyed it. It was a fun listen, but not going to be anything I need to keep. All right, next up, in a similar wheelhouse, we have one from the Folk Legacy label. This is Gene Redpath with Fray My Ain Country. These are Scottish folk songs. And Folk Legacy is a little bit of a lesser known folk label, but still very quality stuff. This is from 1973. They're out of Sharon, Connecticut. And yeah, this is, again, Scottish folk songs, really traditional, kind of a fun little bit of musical history here. There's the label. Folk Legacy does a silver and black label. So yeah, the Gene Redpath For My Ain Country. Enjoyable. There was a time when I thought I wanted to collect all these Folk Legacy records, but I've kind of changed my mind on them. I still do pick them up from time to time when I find them out in the wild, but they are always an enjoyable listen, kind of an educational listen. But I've come to the terms that it's not really repeat listenable much for me. I kind of like enjoying them for a little while and then passing them along. So good music, good solid stuff. If you're into folk music, you'll really enjoy this, but not necessarily something I need to keep. All right, next up, let's talk about a little bit of classic rock here. We have Led Zeppelin 2 from 1969, of course, the second album by Led Zeppelin. This is the modern reissue of this that was done a few years back. There's that killer gatefold that comes with this, and yeah, I've been listening to some Led Zeppelin on CD recently, and just the first 3 albums are just so killer. It's like every time I hear one, it's like, no, this is the best Led Zeppelin album. No, that's the best Led Zeppelin album. It's like every time I hear one, it's like, they're just all so good. And I really do like the first 3 albums for sure from Led Zeppelin, and this is absolutely a keeper for me. I do really like these modern reissues. Some people have issues with them. They are from digital sources, but it's high-res digital. They sound good to me. It's not easy to find a good sounding original, especially Led Zeppelin 2, because if you've been collecting vinyl for a while, you probably know the story of how when this was originally released, it had a lot of bass and people were having trouble playing it, and so they reissued it, and the sound quality went down quite a bit. But this is a good sounding reissue. And yeah, so this is definitely going to be a keeper for me. I was saying it's difficult to find a really good sounding original. If you do, you're probably going to pay up for it, and these are pretty affordable. So I do appreciate that they've kept these pretty traditional with the orange and green Atlantic label. Looks like the vintage release there for the U.S. anyway. So Led Zeppelin 2 going in the collection. All right, next up we have from 1984, we have Roger Daltrey with Parting Should Be Painless. This is Roger's 5th studio solo album, the first one after The Who broke up. Very dark art rock kind of sound to this, pretty enjoyable. Definitely liked hearing this. Again, this is on the Atlantic orange and green label. So yeah, Roger Daltrey, Parting Should Be Painless. I definitely enjoyed this, but I felt that it was not something I really need to have in the collection. I'm really trying to be more selective about things that I put into my permanent collection. I just don't have the endless amount of space I want to have, and I've kind of experienced this. I kind of know what it sounds like. I think I have this on CD somewhere, so I'll be able to hear it again. But I don't necessarily think I need to have it on vinyl. So for that reason, it's not staying in the collection, but I did really enjoy this. And as I said, kind of a really cool, dark art rock kind of sound to it. So really good album. Okay, next up from 1965, we have Judy Collins' 5th album on Elektra Records. So yeah, I stayed away from Judy Collins forever just because the records were just so plentiful in thrift stores and whatnot, and I just kind of took them for granted. Never really spent any time with them, but once I sat down with this and really gave it a good listen, I really enjoyed this. I dug the songs and her versions of them. Not necessarily an original folk artist, but definitely a folk artist that can really take his song and make it their own. And I really respect her for that. So I think for now, this is going to be a keeper for me. I definitely enjoyed it. It's definitely something I want to keep around for a while. So for now, this is going to be staying in the collection. And this is on the Elektra Gold label. So yeah, Judy Collins' 5th album. It's a keeper for me. And the last one we have for this episode from 1987, we have Curiosity Killed the Cat with Keep Your Distance. So Curiosity Killed the Cat are a pop group, 80s pop group, and this being from 1987, this is getting into that sort of later 80s pop sound where things got really, really jazzy, and it just went in a direction that I did not care for at all, and this is pretty heavily in that direction as far as going into the vocal jazz sort of realm. I just don't like it. It's too smooth. It's too just sugary sweet. Just I don't know. I do not dig the direction pop music tended to take in the late 80s. So yeah, this just didn't work for me, unfortunately. I was hopeful this would be something I would like, but yeah, too far into that jazz pop sort of late 80s sort of feel. Very smooth, Sade kind of sound to it. I think Sade did it best. It's kind of one of those things. Nice printed inner sleeve with this one with some lyrics and artwork on it. It's on the Mercury label. So yeah, Curiosity Killed the Cat, Keep Your Distance, not going to be a keeper for me. So that does it for this episode of The Vinyl Survivor. Hope you enjoyed the show. Leave me any comments you have down about any of these albums, whether you like them or not. And stay tuned for future episodes. Please subscribe, and will help keep you up to date with future episodes. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, great night, enjoy some great music, and we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.